Who fucking knows? Hi guys, welcome back to The Hideaway. You know me, it's Douglas, and today we are jumping in to dissect the third entry into The Hideaway entitled Hideaway. This is the piece, the first piece that I wrote, I think about a month and a half ago, and it was a piece that really inspired the title of the series, and then, you know, moving forward, kind of the idea and the thought behind what the series is and what it was going to be. So it's a very special piece, start of this whole shenanigans, and it's actually a good time to talk about the inspirations outside of just this piece. I am wearing a cardigan, specifically Taylor Swift's cardigan. Her album Folklore that came out was a very huge inspiration for a lot of the writing that's going on in this series. She's just such a very talented songwriter, and she knows how to storytell. She gets you right in the feels. And so this was the first one I wrote after Folklore came out. And so we're gonna jump right into it. So for some context, if you haven't listened to the poem, I will link it right here for you guys. So you guys can go check that out, listen to it, and then we can come back here and talk about it line by line. So context of this, it is about a breakup. That's a very specific person that I broke up with. They're not on social media, I hope, anymore. But if you're out there, hi, this is for you. So this breakup, long story short, we were together for a couple months in 2018, ended things, but then I kept going back to him before I moved from Virginia to Philadelphia. So I had a lot of pent up resentment and anger about that relationship and why it happened and how it started. And so again, this is like one of those pieces where I got the title first and then I just started writing, and then it kind of became what it was. And you will notice that there's a couple sections where a couple lines are repeated. A lot of times when I was doing my writing, I intended for things to be songs, and so I would try and break them up into like verses, like pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, those types of things. And so when I first started writing, it was going to, in my mind, it was like, oh, it's gonna be a song, but then I was like, no, it's gonna be more like story structure poem. And this is what we came up with. I'm very proud of it. So let's go ahead and start breaking it down. So in our first section, the first two lines are very confusing, but I'll try and explain them the best I can. So the first line is, I'm standing at the shore where I first told you I loved you. This didn't happen, there was no shore. We were drunk in a club, so that's fun. But this is much more romantic. If you listen to Folklore, there's lots of talks about like being at the shore, like the lakes and like these types of things. So again, I was very heavily influenced by that, inspired by that. It's just much more romantic than what actually happened. And that was when you walked away. So there's like for me, it's confusing because like the timelines are obviously different, because when you walked away was obviously in the past, but he's like, I told you I'm standing at that shore. So I think what I was just trying to say was like, where I told you I loved you is where you walked away, essentially. It was like, we weren't connected on that emotional level. From all the long nights holding my hand under the starlit streets, that's things that happened. So, and dancing in the alleyway like it was our own personal hideaway. And so these three kind of sections were actually memories that I had of this relationship, because they were things that happened. We were always hanging out at night in the streets. Like, sounds dangerous and dumb, and it kind of was, but it was very like, it was just like the two of us running through the streets together. It's the first use of the word hideaway in the poem, and again, we're kind of going through like what it kind of means to me personally to have a hideaway. And so like, it was in this first instance, it was where me and him like connected more, was in this like dark alleyway, and we were dancing together, and so we were hiding from the world, like, and just being with each other. The word hideaway gets used 3 different times, and it's kind of, again, describing like what it meant to me, what I thought I needed, and what it actually is. Why couldn't you love me? You said you dreamed of what I could be for you. And it was a very complex relationship, even though it was very short. But yeah, there was all this talk about like what we were gonna be and like who I was gonna be in relation to this person. And The next line, the hopes and promises and the empty bottles in your hand told me that I could no longer trust you. So there's all this talk, but there was not a lot of walk in this relationship. The last line in this section is, but I still told you I loved you. So even though I knew like this was all talk, like nothing was actually changing, nothing was actually happening, I still was like, I love this person. So this little next section, again, this is, in my mind, it would have been like a pre-chorus, but it's just, what I've turned it into is more like a mantra that I was telling myself to help me get through these emotions. So it was whatever was meant to be just couldn't be, and whatever I meant to you just wasn't enough for either of us. And so I feel like it's all pretty self-explanatory. It's like, we were never going to be together. Like, you didn't care about me like the way I cared about you. Well, nothing was enough for the both of us because you wanted something, he wanted something that I didn't want, and I wanted something that he didn't want to give. So it's very aggressive. I'm sorry. This is where we kind of get into more of like an aggression in my feelings about it. So this next section is, I want to forget you as I dance around this fire pit of the stupid little things you ever gave me, like the love notes and the necklaces and all the fucking lines about the universe tying us together. Essentially, like, it's like that very cliche of like when you break up with someone, you want to like take out anything that you have left of theirs and you want to throw it in a fire and burn it. And so I'm just trying to create that imagery. There were necklaces. I'm not saying I still have them, but if I did, we're not gonna talk about it. And then all the lines about the universe tying us together. He was very big into like, oh, we were brought together for a reason, and I was like, well, then act like it. And the next line is, I want to forget you like the lines of a Broadway show that's too problematic for the 21st century. That has no... I just wanted something clever and like more of like another like metaphor to be like, this is how badly I want you to not be in my head. Is that if it's something that it's like, oh, this is problematic, this is too, ooh, whatever, forget about it. And so just drawing parallels there, but I thought it was it's a fun little metaphor I thought of because I'm in theater too, so it all just bring all worlds together. Probably the show that you quoted in your senior thesis, so I'm basically comparing him as being like problematic, and he doesn't know it's problematic, and he doesn't know he's problematic, and so I was just like, you two belong together. Because you're a man's man who made another man fall in love with you. So my ex is technically straight, which seems weird, but when we first started talking and getting together, he was like, I've never been with a man before, and I was like, okay, is this what you want? And he's like, yes. And so we did it, and we broke up because he told me he wanted to date women only still. So fun. So yeah, the next line explains it more. Is like, because you're a man's man who made another man fall in love with you with no intention of ever returning the favor. So again, we go back to like the hopes and promises that he gave me, like they were empty, like the bottles in his hand. See what I did there? He had no intention of ever falling in love with me the way I fell in love with him. So fun times. Play me like a violin, broken strings, still holding on to these chords without a chance in the world. And again, I just wanted more like metaphorical imagery there, and so you can just imagine that like it's this old broken violin that's still like someone's still trying to play it, and it can only hit like maybe one chord, and that one chord would be me, you know, having these emotions or feelings for someone who couldn't love me back. And then my heartbeat's music will echo forever. So again, into that music imagery, like that chord of that like song, like it's going to just continue on. And then the next last line is, while you change the station for a nostalgic song that reminds you of her instead of me. So again, we kind of tie it all together at the end right there, as far as like, he basically took my music aside and said, I don't want this anymore. I'm gonna go back to the songs that I think about with women and like that kind of thing. So moving on. So this next section, it's kind of like where I'm at now, and it's kind of like, it was very self-referential at the time. I'm standing at this lake some 100 miles away talking to a new boy. Basically saying like, if I was to talk to a new boy, like this is what I would say. So I'm talking to a new boy. He's got the sweetest eyes. His smile lights up even when it's bright outside. If I ever meet this person, I'm probably gonna be like, oh, this is like great and cool. You know, whatever, all these, whatever emotions are, you know, those things. But even here on my phone, I'm spilling out my guts about you. And so like, when I was writing this, I was like, even if I was talking to someone while I was writing this, it would feel very like, I would feel very anxious about that, because it's like, I need to be giving my time and energy to this new person, but yet here I am writing this 4.5-minute poem for you instead. I can replay every scenario like a broken record that's tired of skipping tracks. And so that's basically saying that like every moment that we had together is just on replay in my head. And like it's so vivid and crystal clear. And we're definitely tired of repeating and skipping. You'll always be in my mind, and I can't even find a new hideaway from you. So again, I kind of am using the word hideaway as like a person or like a thing that can help me, you know, like escape life. So in the beginning, me and him had our own hideaway, but now I can't even find one from him. I really do want to like try and find someone. It's never like a priority, but like I always want to like find someone that like I can maybe spend the rest of my life with. But is that possible if I'm still holding on to this? Last line. Not even someone new who treats my scarred arm like a saving grace. And that's nothing like specific, but like if you were with me for Darkness in the Darkest Times, I did talk about some of my mental health struggles. And so basically what I'm trying to say is that like I could find like the best person in the world that would love me for me and all my flaws and like everything that I've been through, but I would still be stuck holding on to this part of my past. And sometimes we need to let it go and sometimes we don't. And I'm hoping that me writing this and sharing this will help me let it go more. And we go back into that little mantra that I was telling you about earlier. So whatever was meant to be just couldn't be, and whatever I meant to you just wasn't enough for either of us. You're still talking about these things like you need to move on. Nothing was enough. Like just repeating and telling myself this to help me like snap out of it, I guess, in a sense. I want to dance around my broken wings that fell off and hit the ground in a huff of smoke. Again, tying back to like fire imagery. And also I think maybe like angel devil parallels can play there too. They spelled out your name and I cursed the fucking wind because it spun the ashes around and around again until I went insane. So I can just like in my brain, like I could just imagine me like maybe being drunk in this moment and like I'm just seeing his name and like the ashes and be like, fuck you, like why is the wind doing this to me? Like to me, like the wind is just like pushing the ashes around and I'm seeing his name in the ashes. And so it's kind of a funny imagery, but it's also like I'm losing it a little bit thinking about this person still. It's stupid to say I'll ever forget your name. True. I never will, unfortunately. But I say unfortunately, but we're gonna try and make this more positive. It's fine. That's good. As your story intertwined with mine will haunt the pages of my diary for years to come. So again, like it kind of goes back into that last section where I was like, I'm on my phone writing these stories about you still. And it's like, even if 5 years from now I'm writing stories, like I feel like some part of it is still going to connect to this relationship. And whether that's a good or bad thing, I need to make it a better thing because life happens and all we can try and do is move on from it. Spilling ink from my fingertips, everything's black and sticky with regret. So as a writer, it's that like I'm pouring out these stories and these are onto these pages, and it's like I do have a lot of regrets about it, so I write about it. It's like, do I still have regrets? Probably not, but like I have to like be able to talk about why, if I had regrets, why I had them, if I still have them. Let's talk about that. Like a broken bottle full of whiskey and ecstasy, I'm not a part of your story anymore. So a lot of our relationship was heavily influenced by alcohol and maybe drugs. I can neither confirm nor deny that. But it's broken now. Usually what you do with broken things is you throw them out. You can try and fix them, but some people just throw them out. And the last line. So I'm not part of your story anymore, but you'll be in mine even when I think I'm done for good. So again, I will always be telling this story over and over again, but hopefully not forever, but like it's a part of my story regardless. This last section. So again, when I was talking about like if I was to break it up into like verses and you know pre-chorus and chorus and things like that, this is what I wanted to be my bridge. And again, Taylor Swift's huge influence on my writing, and so like her bridges are like out of this world, like the best bridges in music. You can at me, come fight me. What a damn shame it is to love without consequence. And now it's like all of my like anger and aggression that I have for myself for thinking about themselves, that finally like being directed towards him for doing these things to me. You showed me nothing but smoke and mirrors, a trick I had done for years. I do believe in karma, and I do believe that 21-year-old Douglas is very different than 26-year-old Douglas, and I was kind of an asshole back then, especially in the dating relationship world. So does a part of me feel like I had this coming? Probably. It still hurts, and that's why I'm trying to show more empathy and less regret, because I can only imagine, like, if maybe people didn't feel the same way that I feel when I go through this kind of stuff. Like, if I did something like this to them, they'd be like, eh, whatever, and like move on. Who knows? But you were an asshole and you got treated like an asshole by an asshole. Oh, sad, poor you. All feelings are valid, and I feel a lot of feelings. I don't know where I was going with that, but let's move on. A taste of my own medicine is bitter, and my lifeline is sinking. So again, he did to me what I have done to others. Feels like I've completed this cycle of like unrequited and lost love. It's like, where else do I go? Like, is there a way to get out of this circle? And I wouldn't have you now, even after all the love I said I felt. So that this is like my affirmation is like, I know I said all these things and like I cared about you a lot, but like I couldn't go back to do that. It was frustrating because I did go back to it for so long before I left, and it's been almost 2 years. Time is weird. Well, 2 years since we started seeing each other, but I left last August, so meh. But my heart will ache for you. So again, everything that happened still has an impact on me. Because the love I thought I felt was still a feeling regardless of the outcome. So whether like the I love you was real or not, like I felt it in that moment. Whether it was just me blinded by like the red flags or like all the alcohol or all the other thing, it was still something I felt, and that's why it hurts to this day. Now it means nothing. And I have to realize that it meant nothing in that time too. So after that line, I could lay broken on the floor a million times over while your shimmering complexion and silver cool smile laugh in my wake. So what I'm trying to say there is that like I am, like it devastated me, but like it didn't really affect him. Like I remember when we broke up, he was like, oh, we can still like hook up. And I was like, no, we can't. Plot twist, we did, because I told you already. Like it just felt like he kept winning because I kept coming back to him. And like each time I feel like it broke a piece of me, but he was always like, haha. And it's safe to say I'd rather stay broken. And we'll kind of break this line down as we're going, but I think it's a really important line to think about. I'm forever shattered by the realities and fallacies created in the hideaway of my brain. So this is where I finally accept that the hideaway that I deserve is inside my writing and inside my thoughts. Because it's the only place I can truly escape from the world. So it's not in another person, it's just in myself, and like being able to take my feelings and emotions and experiences and put it into art and create something with it. Then the last hideaway and the new hideaway, here we are, is my art and being able to share it with the world. And you know, these explanation videos are fun for that as well, because you guys get a sneak peek into the actual hideaway, which is my brain. Because at least the pieces reflect the me I so desperately want others to see. My vulnerability will ease the edges of my fragility with grace and experienced confidence. The part of me that I don't like to talk about, which is the hardest part of this series, is having to like talk about, you know, like this type of heartbreak, or like in the last entry, it was mental health things. So it is things I want people to see and understand with me, but it is just hard to like open up and express those things. But I think in this piece I was really trying to be like, I'm trying to like push myself to like, your brokenness is not something you should be ashamed of. And we're still trying. I feel like it kind of got deep, and then I kind of go back into like my petty like jabs at people. While you stay drugged up in your hollow shell, waiting for the next thrill, the next moment, because it's just a moment. So basically I'm saying that like, he was never fazed by like what we had, but of course I was. And now I've taken whatever I got from that, and like I'm trying to like better myself, turn it into art, and like help other people potentially. And in my brain, like I obviously haven't talked to this person in over a year now. the only vision I have of him is this like drugged up, drunk, sad man, like just waiting for his next like high, his next thrill, because it's really all it was. And there's something about that attracted me. I think brokenness attracts brokenness, but I think there are some people that don't know how broken they are. He's someone that doesn't necessarily know that. But we're moving on. These last lines are kind of important for this last section. There's a little snippet at the end too, but so my lifetime of loss and unrequited love will outlive your singular moment of adventure. My story is a tale told a million times over. I am a legend before my time is done. And that's basically saying that like there's so many people that go through not this exact experience, but very similar. Like, you know, we feel heartbreak, we feel loss, we feel regret. I feel like unrequited love is sometimes a cliche, but like it is very part of people's story to like not think that they're able to be loved and receive the type of love that they give to other people. And I think it's going to be a story that's told like for a while. And I think that's better than anything that he's going to do. It is that kind of release that I needed to be like, I'm not saying I'm better than this person, but like I know how to handle my brokenness in a way that's not going to hopefully affect people negatively anymore. Whereas we're not going to make assumptions. We're just going to say that my story is not my own, it is everyone's, and anyone that feels this way will have their story told over and over again. And I think that's tragically beautiful. Obviously, we're all gonna die. I'm not gonna talk about existential crises. It's just something that we all can connect to and relate to moving forward. And I think we can find solace and peace in our brokenness together. I took that mantra that I had twice and I reworked it for this last one because I'm finally kind of at a place to accept and understand all of what I've written before this. So whatever was meant to be becomes a page in the book. So it's part of my story, and now I can put it in my book, and now it's in the book, and I'm on to the next chapter or new book or whatever. And whatever I meant to you was never real to begin with. And so that's, again, it's like, no matter how real I thought it was, like, if I look back now, and like I have looked back, it wasn't real. And the last line, I can say that with confidence now. And so it's like, I'm very confident to be like, that wasn't real. I'm living in my own reality now. Like, I have reflected, I have been upset, I've been angry about it, and now I have the confidence and the experience to be like, it wasn't real. You felt the way you felt. And now let's move on. That was a very intense piece to write. Again, I think I mentioned at the beginning, but like, it was the one where the title came first. I don't know. Usually I can remember where a title comes from, but I can't remember where Hideaway came from. And again, it was just the title, and then I wrote that first line, and then it turned into something completely different after that first line, because I really didn't know it was going to be about this person. I will just go on these like tangents in my brain, and whatever spills out, I think because I keep a lot of my like emotions and like my experiences subconsciously. So I think it just spilled out, and I think I needed to get it out, and I'm very glad I did. Why am I writing about it a year later? And it's like, people always say like, if you were really over it, you wouldn't need to write these things. But I think these types of like pieces and like even songs, like it does help people get over it, because you're able to actually put it on paper and like put it in a medium. If I had just kept it in my phone, it would just be for me. But I feel like a lot of times I can't, or like some people can't really get over things without telling other people. Like they have to be able to like share their experiences and like get feedback or like things like that. And I think that's really important for me. That's like kind of what I wanted to do with this series, or maybe just this piece in general, is kind of close that chapter in my mind officially. I feel like I rambled a lot, but yeah, so that is Hideaway, and that will go back into the Hideaway. Just kidding, it's in the Hideaway. So thank you guys for watching. I will be seeing you shortly with some new entries, but please leave a comment below. Favorite part, if you have more questions about my writing, or if I didn't explain something appropriately to you guys. But we'll see you next time in the Hideaway. Thank you. For this piece in particular, the only tip I can really think of is if you want to do something like storytelling based, you have to go like, you have to get personal and you have to get detailed. You can be as vague as you want in your writing. I think there's a fun way to do universal storytelling with details of your own life. One of my favorite quotes that I don't know if I came up with it or if like I read it somewhere, but like the greatest story I can ever tell is my own, because no one's going to live the exact experiences that I can, but the emotions and the feelings that come with that can be universal. So I think when it comes to like storytelling and art, you know, you have to find that good balance of universal storytelling with your own personal experiences, and hopefully people can relate. If you're worried about people telling you that, like, if you're writing about like breakups and whatever is you not getting over it, like, just tell them to fuck off. Like, this is how people get over it. They write about it, they put it out into the world, and other people talk about it and relate to it. And again, I feel like this is it. This is that chapter for that person. Like, this is, it's a lot.